Welcome to SorWil Solutions, where we talk about what's going on in our community. This week, we were supposed to have Chief Gates, who had an unexpected emergency and wasn't able to be here. So Lansing City Administrator Tim Vandall was able to step in. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
It is good to be here.
It is exciting to have you on the show. I've been trying to get you on the show for weeks now, so I feel like I finally achieved something.
There you go. Yep.
As always, I appreciate you being on here. We want to talk about what's going on in our county. With you specifically, what's going on in the Lansing community. There's a lot of exciting things happening. There's a lot of attendance at your commission meetings or council meetings. But let's just start with Tim Vandall. How does he come to Lansing? You're not originally even from Kansas, are you?
Yeah, I born and raised in South Dakota, lived there the first 24 years of my life. So did my bachelor's and master's at the University of South Dakota, got my master's in public administration for state and local government. So I graduated with my master's in 2009, and there's not a lot of city management jobs in South Dakota.
I can't imagine.
So I applied in a town called Ellsworth, Kansas.
Yeah.
So about, I think, 3,100 people, a little bit west of Salina, and got that position. I loved it. I was there for a little over 6 years. And when 2015 rolled around, this position came open, the Lansing position came open, and it was a chance to be a little bit closer to the metro, closer to my wife's family, closer to my family. So we applied, and we're fortunate to get the position. So been in Lansing a little over 10 years now, been a Kansan for 16 years. So yeah, wife, 3 kids. We live in Lansing, in the Lansing School District. Love it. Great community.
It is a good community. In fact, they just recently opened a pool.
We did. So, that's kind of a fascinating topic. So I think if you talk to some people who have lived in Lansing a long time, they remember, I think there was a push for a pool as far back as the 90s. There were votes to build a pool 25, 30 years ago. And each time it failed or couldn't happen for whatever reason. That topic was coming up a lot to our city council 4, 5, 6 years ago. And I think the city council realized this is an expensive endeavor, and anything that we can do, we don't have this funding stream. So the city council decided, rightfully so, if we do this, we need to do some type of sales tax election and let the residents decide. And I think the reason why sales tax was appealing, people driving up and down K7, whether you're from Overland Park or Missouri or wherever, people outside of Lansing are paying sales tax at our businesses. Whereas if it was paid for only by property tax, the entire cost of that pool would have been borne by our residents. So a sales tax question was appealing to the city council for that reason. We have outsiders chipping in to pay for it. That was on the ballot, I want to say in the fall of 2022. And it passed by, I think, like 15 or 20 votes.
It was a very small margin.
It was incredibly close, but it did pass. And once it passed, we decided, we're going to give it our all. And it's important to note too. There were a few city council members that I'm not sure voted yes or voted no, whatever. And there were staff members that voted yes, voted no, whatever. But the big thing was it was important to let our residents decide. And once the residents decided, we went full steam ahead. And we had this wonderful design. Construction started last April, and here we are. It is June. Our pool is open. It has been full almost every day. So that has been wonderful. I know we've taken our family there a couple of times, and I know one of the things that we've been liking about it, like so many parents, it is a struggle getting your kids off the couch in the summer, getting them off of screens in the summer, right? So, we'll take our kids there. They're swimming, they're active, they're talking to their friends. So it's been fabulous. It's been great. And so much credit goes to our Parks and Rec director, Jason Crum, our aquatics director, Joe McGuire, It's just been a wonderful project, very fulfilling, and it's been fun to see it being full the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I drive by all the time. Obviously, it's right behind us here,
Yeah,
and yeah, it always seems full. In fact, I was talking to someone the other day. He says there's a waiting list. You know, once it gets to capacity, people are waiting outside
yeah,
to get in.
yeah, absolutely.
So it's awesome, especially to see that it passed with by such a short majority. Was the council all in on that, or did anybody on the council vote against it? Or
I think the vote to put it out to the citizens was 8-0.
oh
So
wow,
that was everyone was on board with that. And like I said, I think we were united in the sense that we wanted to let the residents decide because again it did increase our sales tax a little bit. So right now the city's local sales tax rate is 1.9%. So our total sales tax rate in Lansing right now is 9.4. That sounds high, and if you compare it to Missouri, it kind of is.
hmm.
But when you compare it to some cities in Johnson County, 9.4 is kind of almost in the middle. So we did increase our sales tax a little bit, but again, where that was appealing is we have people from out of town contributing to pay for that pool.
Can you tell the people that are going to the pool, are they just Lansing residents? Are you getting people from Leavenworth or even outside of
I believe we're getting
Lansing?
people from all over the region. I would have to double check on the list, the attendance list from every day, because we do try to check on that. So I think we're getting people from all over the region, and it's important to note too. So like the daily fee or daily pass for a Lansing resident is $5,
Oh
and I
wow.
think if you're from outside of the community, it's $7. So there is a slight difference in cost depending on where a person lives, but yeah, I think we do keep track of that. I think we've had people from all over the region come by.
As you guys looked at the development of that pool, did you look at any other pools to get
Mhm.
ideas? I mean, how far did you go, and
Oh
what did
yeah,
you guys what effort did you guys put into that?
absolutely. One of the things that was cool about that whole project, we hired an engineering team that's all they do is pools.
Hmm.
And so we looked at the Bonner Springs pool, the Tonganoxie pool, the Leavenworth pool. I think there's a couple pools on Post. So yeah, we looked all over. We wanted something that offered fresh features to our residents that aren't available close by. So we have a lazy river.
Hmm.
That was one of the cool things that we had that some of our neighboring pools don't have. It's been interesting too. People were talking to me about the landscaping when you're inside of the pool and how it almost looks more like a resort rather than a municipal pool. I remember the pool I grew up in with in South Dakota in the '90s. It was basically all concrete and
Yep.
water. And you look at our pool, we have these beautiful plants and limestone blocks and everything. It's a beautiful facility. We were fortunate too during the design process. We had so many great volunteers from our community chime in and give us ideas on how to design it. So, like people like Jeanette Levy Haldeman or Tom and Noreen Lujan, Adam Bremer. I know I'm forgetting people, but we had so many wonderful community volunteers who stepped up and helped us kind of design our pool because we wanted input from our residents too.
That's so exciting. Kind of shifting gears here. There's a lot going on in Lansing. I know that you guys have just had a recent win, another development that's going back behind off of West Mary over here. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So yeah, there was a trying to remember, it was a site plan that went before the planning commission a few weeks ago for a commercial development on that 9.8 acre parcel in the north side of town center. Um, and so it'd be a commercial retail center with 5 tenants and some outbuildings as well. So the site plan was approved by the planning commission. That's exciting. There's still some hurdles and hoops to jump through, and but we're excited about that. I can tell you, as someone who's been here 10 years, that's further than we've been on any other prospect that's been interested in town center since I've been here. So that could be incredibly exciting if that were to materialize. So, like I said, there's still some things that need to occur, but we're on the right track on that. The thing that not only getting businesses in town center, which has been so important to the city for so long, but you think of the level of sales taxes that could be generated with the new development over there. I think that would be beneficial for neighboring businesses as well. So, I mean, it'd be beneficial for, the banks, the Sonic, the Family Eye Care, I
Mhm.
think your business as well.
Mhm.
I think it would be beneficial to all neighboring businesses in that area. It's going to be a traffic generator, and I think it'll be a good thing. Again, there's still some hoops to jump through. There's land grading issues and things like that. But we're excited about the prospect of what that could become in the next year or two.
One of the things that's a really hot topic right now is RHID. I know some of the residents have spoken out about it. There's a lot of rumors about it, and I think a lot of people really question what is it? How does it benefit the city? How does the benefit city use it as a benefit to encourage developers to come in? What are your thoughts here?
You know, before we even talk about that, one of the things I want to tell you, we did a city council strategic planning session, I want to say a year and a half or 2 years ago.
Hmm.
And the number one topic that came up in this city council strategic planning session, the number one goal was housing.
Hmm.
People who had just been elected to the city council were talking about how, as they're knocking on doors in their ward, they were hearing from residents about the lack of housing, the lack of reasonably priced housing so younger people could move here, the lack of single family housing. We were hearing it from every angle. And so that was the number one goal of our city council at this strategic planning session a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Hmm.
We did a housing study a couple of years ago with a reputable firm that's done housing studies all over Kansas. And one of the programs that they referenced in this housing study was the RHID program, how it's been successful throughout the state. And it's similar to a TIF district in the sense that it captures those new property taxes that are generated within that specific area and uses them for infrastructure and other eligible expenses. And so, kind of getting back to the genesis of the problem almost, housing is so much more expensive now than it was 10 or 15
Sure.
years ago. And that's not just a Lansing problem, that's a Kansas problem, that's a United States of America problem.
Yeah.
And part of that, it's multifaceted, but materials are significantly more expensive. Whether it's lumber, concrete, plumbing materials, whatever, all of that is more expensive. But also, the people who are building this house, you're paying carpenters probably double now what you were 15 or 20 years ago.
Sure.
So housing is just significantly more expensive now than it was 15 to 20 years ago. So without any type of incentive or program or anything like that, uh, the type of housing that people can build in a community like Lansing is almost unattainable. It's pretty darn close to unattainable. We've had a few successes here and there with infill development. Now the thing with infill development is the roads are already there, the water lines are already nearby, the sewer lines are already nearby. So I mean the infrastructure is there
So when you say infield, you mean like within the city limits?
within city limits, lots that were able to be built upon. And so, these infill projects that we've had, there was a small subdivision of about 4 or 5 houses, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Those houses, with all of the infrastructure already there, I want to say we're still 330 or 345. And so you tack on constructing new roads, you tack on sewer lines, water lines, and it's to the point where I think almost every residential developer is worried about doing that because residential development, it's incredibly risky and it's incredibly expensive. You have to pony up millions and millions and millions of dollars to fund that infrastructure before even one house can be built. And you think of yourself picture yourself as a developer, and I don't know. I don't know if I would want to invest that level of money for kind of a very risky endeavor. You're at the whim of tariffs. You're at the whim of a nationwide recession. You're at the whim of natural disasters or the market in that area. I mean, it's an incredibly risky endeavor.
Hmm.
You look at Lansing 15 or 20 years ago, when we had a lot of growth and development going on, there were 5, 6, 7 different housing developers in Lansing. And now I want to say Jeremy Greenemeyer is about the only one. And most of what Mr. Greenemeyer does is rentals and those types of things.
Mhm.
So it's been interesting to kind of see that discussion materialize and the RHID program materialize, because there are, understandably so, some people against it. It's a new program for us. One of the things that was fascinating that I will tell you, we had a council member reach out to the Kansas Department of Commerce
Mhm.
and say, how common are these things? Are we the only ones here? And I will throw this back at you, Joe. Guess how many RHID districts there are in the state of Kansas?
I will say 10.
There are over 70.
Really?
70 RHID districts throughout the state of Kansas. And it was fascinating. They sent us a list of all of these RHIDs. They are in Southwest Kansas. They are in Northwest Kansas. They are in Southeast Kansas. They are in Northeast Kansas. They are literally in every corner of the state. They are in communities like Hayes, Emporia, Pittsburgh. They are in communities in Johnson County like Edgerton and Spring Hill. They are as close as Tonganoxie and Bonner Springs to us. They are hopeful at generating new housing. If your goal is housing, which the Lansing City Council has said, housing is our goal, the RHID is a good tool in your toolbox. Again, the pros and cons of this are that money has to come from somewhere, and in the instance that's been discussed recently, it's an 80% capture in that area. So that's 80% of the new property taxes would go for infrastructure. So that counts not only for the city of Lansing, but as well as the school district and Leavenworth County. School finance is kind of a complicated thing, so I won't delve into that a ton, but I know most of the school districts that have been okay with this statewide have said they're okay with it because they get $5,600 per student.
Oh, wow.
So school districts usually make up the money that they lose from all of the new students that they're receiving from these subdivisions. Some school districts have also told us it's beneficial because these are the types of houses that teachers can move into. You look at Lansing, I think almost in every neighborhood, I want to say 350, 360, 370. I mean, housing is expensive because in
Mhm.
Lansing, there's not a lot of supply. The subdivision that the developer that we're talking to, he did a subdivision in Spring Hill. I want to say the new houses are 330 to 345, maybe some of the nicer ones, 350, 360. So it makes the homes more attainable. The ones we're looking at, again, they're all single family homes. So I think that checks some boxes for the city council. Another RHID project that the city council has on their plate right now, we were talking about Mr. Greenemeyer.
Mhm.
So he's looking at adding 21 multifamily units behind his existing development, kind of by Econo Lodge and Finish Line gas station.
Okay.
So that would be a similar project to those triplexes that are currently there. There's a market that's, for those, absolutely. For younger folks or people who are in town temporarily.
Mhm.
I think Jeremy was saying there's some teachers that live there. There's a student from CGSC who lives there.
Mhm.
So there's a market for that as well. The RHID program, by no stretch of the imagination does it solve all of our problems, but it is a tool in our toolbox to make housing more attainable for our residents.
You've had a number of people actually come and speak against the use of this.
Yeah.
What's the biggest misconception, do you think, with this?
Um, there's been a lot of things, I guess, that have been said that, I want to believe the best in people, that they are just genuinely misunderstanding some of the things. But, one person came to a county commission meeting and was saying that the city is incurring all of this debt to fund this project. That's 100% false. That is not
Okay.
true. We are not incurring any debt on this. If anything, the RHID program is put in place so the city has less risk, right? All of that risk falls on the developer. If he spends $10 million to put in the infrastructure and nobody buys his homes, He's the one out all that money, not the city. So that's one misconception that's been out there. Somebody was saying that nobody in that area is going to be paying taxes. Again, nothing could be further from the truth because it's the new taxes that's funding the infrastructure.
Mhm.
So people in that area would be paying taxes, absolutely, positively. But 80% of those new taxes in that subdivision would go for infrastructure, and each of the entity would receive about 20% of the new property taxes in that area. Another one, and I don't think this has been said in our meetings as much, but I know one of our city council members said his spouse heard this. She was in Leavenworth, that the city is forcing people out of their homes. Again, nothing could be further from the truth. I don't know where that is coming from. The developer is buying private property, owned. It's in city limits. So, there's no people are not being forced from their homes. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Again, I do want to believe the best in people,
Sure.
that they're just genuinely misunderstand things. But so those are three things that are incorrect. There's no debt. Everyone there is paying property taxes. Nobody's being forced from their homes. And maybe one of the other things that deserves clarity too, we would offer this for any residential developer who is interested in bringing attainable housing to Lansing. It just so happens that this was the gentleman who first showed up. One of the things we've spoken about internally is, after we have one or two of these projects, do we modify our program a little bit? Do we dial it back a little bit? Because we don't want to oversaturate the market either. So once things kind of get cooking a little bit, I think at that point we would look at the policy and say, hey, maybe we dial this back and say, hey, it's a 50-50 split instead of 80-20. So I think those will be discussions that will take place if we do have some success. But it's the one other thing that I will say too that's been it has been fascinating. We established this policy, and I think we were expecting our first RHID program or project to be 50 homes or 60 homes, and it so happens that the first one was a proposal for 400. So
Oh, wow.
it was just it was a bigger project than we envisioned. The gentleman is proposing to phase it about 60 homes per year, but that was one of the things that surprised us a little bit, because again, I think in our minds we were envisioning a smaller program, and we can kind of dip our toes into the water a little bit. But again, it's been exciting. I think it does show that there's a market for people who want to live in Lansing. We are a great community with great schools. We're close to the metro. We have low crime. Who wouldn't want to live here, right? but at the same time, we just don't have those lots available for people to build on right now. So again, it's that aspect of it has been encouraging, that there's people who want to invest their money here. That has been encouraging.
One of the things I hear all the time is, we need more places to eat. We need more businesses. How difficult is it as a city? Because I think people are thinking that you're just going to run out and you're going to get Chipotle to come in here, and you're going to run out and you're going to get, Texas Roadhouse out here, and you're going to run out and get, Target to come in here. How difficult a process is that? And what can you guys do to help that along? Or what can you guys do with that?
It's incredibly difficult. And that's one of the things too. And I'll say this kind of half jokingly. I think that was a misconception my wife had even when we started dating, right? That we can just call up those businesses and say, hey, Chipotle, Panera, Target, whatever, come here and build Lansing, and they'll be banging down the door. It's not that easy. And a lot of times those businesses have pretty rigid standards as far as where they can build and what thresholds they need. One example I'll give you, Mayor McNeil, myself, and our previous economic development director, Matt Schmitz, we went to a ICSC conference in Las Vegas, Nevada, to kind of recruit some of those commercial businesses. And some of these businesses at this conference will tell you, I'm not even going to talk to cities that are under 25,000 in population.
Oh, wow.
I'm not even going to look at areas unless the traffic counts are 50,000 vehicles per day or whatever. These businesses have standards that they have to reach, because you got to remember, any business like that, new construction is expensive, right? So
Mhm.
any business that's looking at constructing a new facility in Lansing or anywhere, they're going to be spending millions and millions and millions of dollars. So they are looking at traffic counts. They are looking at population. They are looking at average median income. Another thing that some of them have told us that, we didn't think about this, but it makes a lot of sense. They don't want to cannibalize their existing businesses either. Businesses can track people based on where they shop when people use credit cards and things like that. So this isn't a real example, but I will give you this example. So if a resident tells us, "Hey, we really want Kohl's. We know it would be successful, and maybe it would be. Who knows?" But the people at Kohl's corporate in Wisconsin can tell, hey, 60% of Lansing residents are happy to drive 12 minutes and go to the Kohl's in the Legends. Why would we build a Kohl's in Lansing, Kansas? Why would we spend $3 million and all of the staffing costs and material costs to build a Kohl's in Lansing, Kansas, when Lansing residents will travel to the Legends for that? So that's one of the things that it was an eye opener for us, but it also kind of helped us see, like, well, what are businesses that are not in the Legends that we could talk to, where they wouldn't be cannibalizing their own businesses.
Sure.
So, it kind of helped us to target the types of people we want to talk to. So that's been helpful. But, getting back to it, it's incredibly challenging, and it's not as simple. There is not this Sears catalog where we can call a business and say, "Hey, build your Panera, build your Kohl's, build your Target here." That doesn't exist. If it did, every town would have one, right? So that's been kind of challenging, and trying to explain that to our residents is challenging. But the thing I will tell you, if you are a prospective business and you see a community that is growing, I think that's appealing to people. And one of the things that's been kind of interesting, we do occasionally have people in Lansing tell us, "Well, we want a grocery store." And believe it or not, we have spoken to grocery stores. We have all of this land that we own in town center. But people were telling us, we need a higher population, right? We need a more growing population, whatever. And you look right down the road in Baser on 2440. This is a community that's had hundreds of new homes built every single year. And right now they're getting a brand new full service grocery store being built, because I think people saw that's a growing community. The population is increasing, and they think that's a good market. So I do think as your population increases, as people see there's growth and development going on, I do think that makes a community more appealing to businesses for sure.
Interesting. As I kind of look at some of the notes I took, one of the things that kind of came up is there's always been a little bit of tension between the cities and the county in this community. What do you attribute that to, and how can we overcome that so that we can work together for the growth of the whole county?
Um, you know, I I can only speak for our organization, right? I know the city really desires to be a good partner with the county. It's our goal to have a positive relationship with our neighbors. Um, One of the things that I'm incredibly proud of is our positive working relationship with the city of Leavenworth. Had a great working relationship with their previous city manager, and we're building a positive relationship with their current city manager. So I do feel like the cities work really well together, and that's incredibly important to us, in keeping those lines of communication open. I think there are a lot of ways we work together. The city of Leavenworth, I should say, and the city of Lansing work together, and maybe the average resident doesn't realize it. But they will help us out with some animal control things occasionally. I know we've helped them out with some sewer issues a few years ago. So we do work together on infrastructure projects and things like that. The K7 and Eisenhower infrastructure intersection
I was
project.
going to bring that up. Yeah.
Yep. That was a joint project between the city of Leavenworth and the city of Lansing, as well as a grant from KDOT. So I do feel like we have a great working relationship with the city of Leavenworth. They've been a good partner in things, and I hope they view us the same way that we're a good partner to them. And we strive for a similar relationship with Leavenworth County.
Awesome. Um, What do you see as the biggest opportunity for Lansing over the next 5 to 10 years?
It's been fascinating to see so much of this growth going on in the Legends area, whether that's the American Royal or is it American Outfitters or Western
Mhm.
Outfitters or whatever it's called, and just all of this growth and development that's going on there, the growth and development at the Panasonic plant. And, I do think Lansing has an opportunity to capture some of that growth. Again, bringing residents to your community is typically a good thing.
Mhm.
You want people to move to your community, to build homes in your community. We should want that. We should strive for that. And we really haven't been able to capitalize on all of the things going on to the south of us yet. But I do think that's something we should strive for. When there's new people coming into our community, I mean that's more people not only shopping at our businesses, but I mean that's more people signing up their kids for Cub Scouts. That's more
Mhm.
people going to our churches. That's more people with their kids in school. But also, one of the things that we hear about is there is this major workforce shortage in the area. It is hard to find good employees, whether you're city, SorWil, or the school
Mhm.
district, or whoever. And this is the potential for more people as well. So I do think we have the opportunity to kind of um, capitalize on that growth that's going on to the south of us. We haven't so far because again, it's tough to get housing in an
Sure.
area like this. It absolutely is. So hopefully, that's an opportunity that we can capture with some of that growth going on to the south of Lansing.
What is the biggest threat to the growth of Lansing as you see it?
It does seem like there's a segment of people who don't want the community to grow, and we do want to respect everyone's opinion if they're based on factual statements. We want to respect those opinions. It is challenging though because a lot of times some of the people who don't really want the community to grow also complain about property taxes quite a
Sure.
bit, and those things kind of go hand in hand, right?
Mhm.
As more people are shopping at your businesses, generating those sales taxes, property taxes can decrease a little bit.
Mhm.
We've had a little bit of success 3 or 4 years ago after Quick Trip came in, after Harbor Freight came in. We were able to lower our property tax rate a fair amount. But I think that's one of the things that I think people need to understand is, if we want Lansing's population to stay 11,000 people in perpetuity, that is that's okay if that's a person's goal. But that person needs to understand that property taxes will potentially go up.
Mhm.
Firefighters don't work for free, cops don't work for
Sure.
free, and we're competing against communities to the south of us to retain our employees. So I do think that's one of the things that people need to understand is if we're just going to be stagnant, it's going to be tough to keep property taxes at the rate where they're at.
Two things that have come from that conversation or that comment. First,
Yeah,
Lansing Fire Department is
yeah,
new to the city as well this year.
yeah.
And that's been a bit of a struggle with a long history. But now you guys are up and running. Chief Gates is hired. You guys are all hired up. How has that been as a process? And has that changed the way people are getting fire support or the way Lansing does business in that regards?
We tried to tell people initially, and I will fall on the sword for this. Our messaging my messaging could have been better 6 or 7 years ago. But it was always our goal to keep fire service and protection the same. I think the goal was maybe to change the organizational structure a little bit, um, because before, even if it was a $5,000 expense, they had to call a special board meeting, and there were a few more hoops I feel like they had to jump through when they were Leavenworth County Fire District #1. As a department of the city, I do think some things are a bit more streamlined, and I think there's more cooperation as a department of the city as well. So that's been really nice to see. You know, Getting to know Chief Gates and bringing him on the team, that's just been an unexpected pleasure. He's been a great guy to get to know. and he's been educational for me, kind of teaching me about a lot of different things. And it was interesting, the way he's been able to recruit so many full-time employees, part-time employees, and volunteers as well. Last year at this time, I want to say there were only 9 or 10 employees. We're at 13 full-time employees right now. We've recruited several more part-time employees as well as volunteers. So Chief Gates just deserves so much credit for bringing more people on the team. We're acquiring a brand new pumper truck in the next
Yeah.
couple of months. That's incredibly exciting as well. So
Albeit not cheap, I'm sure.
yeah, I want to say it was 800,000 or something like that. And we received like a $20,000 discount because we were able to pay for it up front.
Okay.
So in a way that was helpful, but it's been a lot to learn, and even things that I think when we did this 6 or 7 years ago, we did have this big picture idea of these services being under the same umbrella as the city, right? But there were a few things that we didn't expect or anticipate, and then as we're having these meetings in November and December, we realized these firefighters work 24-hour shifts. So the way vacation accrual and sick time accrual works for an employee who works 8-hour shifts is vastly different from firefighters who work 24-hour shifts.
Sure.
So we kind of had to add this paragraph in our employee policy talking about how much vacation and sick time firefighters accrue versus how much everybody else accrues. We had to get this new module for our payroll system because, again, they're working 24-hour shifts, sometimes 2-3 days a week. So it's just different from other departments in that sense. So there were some learning experiences in that November and December timeframe. But again, Chief Gates has been fabulous. The way he's shepherded this process, the way he's kind of been aware of the equipment we needed, the staff we needed, things like that. Just can't sing his praises enough. But even beyond that, too, there was a lot of administrative work behind the scenes that Beth Sanford, our finance director, and Tish Sims, our city clerk and HR, they were able to accomplish as well. So obviously, it's been a long ride. I was joking around with someone. It'll be an interesting chapter in my memoirs someday. but again, the services are all the same. The guys are the same. Equipment is the same. And the first 6 months, I can't be more pleased with the way those guys have joined our team.
That's awesome. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about, Lansing has seemed to have been able to remain revenue neutral for the last couple of years, which is not something a lot of other cities has been able to do. Why has that? Why have you guys been able to accomplish that when other cities haven't?
Well, that's it's a little bit of a multifaceted answer. So again, I want to say the first year we did that was either 2022 or 2023. So again, part of that was our sales tax was increasing. So you think about Harbor Freight that was built in our community. When someone goes to Harbor Freight, they're spending $100, $200, $300. So I mean, that's a big sales tax generator for us. When Aldi expanded and improved their building, that was a big sales tax generator for us. Quick Trip is a big sales tax generator for us. So when our sales tax increases, that helps us to lower our property taxes a little bit. So that has been helpful throughout the process. The other thing, and I will tell you, this is a philosophical discussion with city managers in Kansas and nationwide too, is how much reserves is enough. And that was kind of one of the other things that occurred. We did tick down our reserves a little bit. I think you always want at least 25 to 30% of your reserves in your budget January 1st. So we did tick down our reserves a little bit so we could offer property tax relief to our people, to our residents. And when you look at the breakdown, we lowered our property tax rate almost 9 mils over the course of 2 or 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, pretty significant.
What does 9 mils equate to, just out of curiosity?
It depends on the value of the house. But,
Okay.
maybe $150 a year or something
Okay.
like that.
So that's significant.
Oh yeah, absolutely it is. The thing that's kind of been challenging about that is, although we've been able to lower our property tax mill almost 9 mils, um, as other government entities increase or as a person's valuation increases, sometimes they don't realize those savings
Yeah.
because everything is lumped together in that one property tax bill, right? It's not like people get 3 or 4 different property tax bills, one from the school, one from the county, one from the city. If they got a property tax bill only from the city, absolutely people's property taxes would have gone down. But again, since those property tax bills are all lumped together, we would kind of tell people, pay attention to that bottom column that shows how much each entity went up, each entity went down. That's been one of the things that's been tough is, we went to a lot of work to offer that property tax relief to our citizens. And it hasn't been as noticeable to some people as we would have liked. And again, the easiest and best way to lower property taxes in a community like Lansing, in a community of Leavenworth or wherever, is more sales tax being generated, more businesses. How do you get more businesses? You need to be appealing to those businesses, traffic counts, population counts, new growth and development. So many of these things go hand in hand. And again, getting back to property taxes too, if you're stagnant, if you're not growing, property taxes will probably go up.
So I want to kind of shift the topic to Tim Vandall. And as we said, I asked you ahead of time if any topics were off limits, and you said nothing was off limits, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Tim Vandall, the superhero.
Oh,
You actually donated a kidney to somebody that you didn't even know. How difficult a situation was that? A decision for you? I mean, I can't imagine doing something like that, and to know somebody who did, I think, is really amazing.
yeah. To kind of rewind that discussion a little bit. So we go to church in Lansing. We knew there was a lady at our church who was in need. I think, a person like me and maybe even you or whoever, you don't realize how bad kidney disease is until you hear about people who are in dialysis multiple days a week, So I knew there was a need. I got myself tested to see if I was compatible with my acquaintance from our church, and I was not. It's interesting to be upfront. It's a lot of testing, right? You have to go through a lot of stuff to even be deemed eligible. And then even if you're eligible, you have to match with that person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't match with the lady from my church, but they did say, there is this paired donation program where if you're able to donate a kidney to this person who is in need, we can match your friend with somebody else who's willing to donate. So I did sign up for that program. And so the kidney that I would have donated to my acquaintance from our church, it ended up going to a person in need in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually incredibly cool. I met her for the first time a few weeks ago, and it was just incredibly rewarding to meet her, because she's a fantastic lady. She's a great grandma. She's a wife, and I know one of the things she was talking about was it's when you're in dialysis 3 days a week, traveling to your grandkids' swim meets or baseball games or whatever. That's tough, right?
I can imagine.
Yeah. And so it was one of those cool things where she was talking about, this new kidney gave her the ability to travel a little bit more, to be more active, to go to her grandkids' events. And so that was awesome. One of the things that I want to say too, I do want people to be aware that, I had to take a couple of weeks off from work, but it's really not all that painful. It's really not this terrible process that maybe some people make it out to be. It really, the doctors were fantastic, and everybody has been incredibly accommodating. So I just really want to encourage people, if that's something you're thinking about, get tested and see who you can help, because there is an incredibly long line of people who are waiting for kidneys right now. And one of the other things that was fascinating as I was going through this process, there are deceased donors, and if you're an organ donor, when a
Mhm.
person dies, you can give your kidneys. I want to say like the average lifespan of a deceased kidney is maybe like 10 years or something like that. But for living kidney donors, it's 20. So
Oh, wow.
it helps out so many more people for living kidney donors to donate their kidneys. So again, a person has to be healthy. And I know for me too, it was helpful. I had a great support staff at City Hall. I had really supportive bosses. Mayor McNeil was great. The city council was great. So that was helpful to me. It also helped that I have more of an administrative job. If I was a firefighter or a police officer, it would have been more difficult. Absolutely, it would have been, because I had lifting restrictions for a few
Sure.
weeks. But I would really encourage anyone who's thinking about that to check it out. And like I said, really it's a slight bit of discomfort, and you got to lay in bed for a couple of weeks, but really it's not too bad. I would really encourage people to do it.
How difficult a conversation was that with your family, your spouse? Did you think about this for weeks before you approached her about it?
It really wasn't that difficult of a conversation with my wife. Because she knew the lady from our church, if anything, better than I did.
Oh, wow.
So my wife was supportive. Again, one thing that we weren't able to go on a summer vacation last year, right? Because I was laying down for for 2 weeks, and but so I mean that was kind of one of the minor inconveniences. But my family was really supportive of that, and again, being able to know that you're helping someone live their life was rewarding, and I've kind of made lifetime friends throughout this process doing that. So that has been cool.
I will always say you're a real superhero. I don't know many people that would do that, especially for someone they don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's an easy conversation to say I would do it for my spouse,
Yeah.
my kids, even my very good friends. But for an acquaintance, I think that just it takes a special person. So
Yeah.
I commend you. I thank you. I know it's not something you like to talk about all the time, and I think it's just something that's just says a lot about who Tim Vandall is.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we're going to shift now to rapid fire questions
All right.
with Tim Vandall. And so I have 10 questions here. We're going to go through five, and
Yeah.
I'll let you pick four. And I get to pick the fifth one because I think this is a really exciting one. We started this last week
Okay.
with Dave Bueller, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I will let you pick the first number 1 through 10.
2.
Number 2, what's your go to gas station snack on a road trip?
On road trips, I like corn nuts and Diet Pepsi.
Okay, corn nuts and Diet Pepsi. Next number.
Let's do all even. So let's go 2, 4, 6.
All right, 4. What's your guilty pleasure TV show or movie?
My wife will tease me about this. I love watching Everybody Loves Raymond reruns.
Oh my God.
Do you ever watch that?
My wife watches that nonstop. I'm like, oh my God, no more Raymond, please.
I love that show. And the other thing that is cool about it that I really like, we've got 13-year-old, 11-year-old, and an 8-year-old at home.
Uh-huh.
And 95% of those episodes the kids can watch with me. So a good show, good actors, really like it. Everybody
All
Loves
right.
Raymond.
All right. So you want to go 6 next?
As long as it's an easy one.
Favorite hidden gem in Lansing?
One of the things people don't know is we have these amazing, I don't know if you call them nature trails or whatever, but out at Bernard Park, if a person is into mountain biking or something like that, we have these non-paved trails, miles and miles of non-paved
I
trails.
did not know that.
We do. And, it's really fun to go out there if you're a mountain biker, walking your dog or whatever. If you go right now, you would sweat a lot. Absolutely, you would. But once the weather cools down a little bit and you don't have to worry about mosquitoes or ticks or whatever, We have miles and miles of nature trails at Bernard Park that people should really check out. Like I said, if you're just looking for a nice 2-hour hike, but you want to stay close to home, that is a great opportunity for people to check out.
Okay. All right. Number 8, best piece of advice you've ever gotten.
So I'll give you 2. From a work context, a friend of mine said, get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? From when you're in my position, you're always going to have to step out and try new things. The community will try new things. There will be things that you're not familiar with, and you have to be ready to step out of your comfort zone. So I like to tell people, get comfortable being uncomfortable. From a family aspect, and this is another thing my wife will tease me about because it sounds so cheesy, but I always tell my kids, I like it when people are nice. Isn't that so simple? But we joke around. That's going to be on our family crest, and because it's so important in our world now, where I do feel like I don't think people are as nice as they were 50, 60, 70 years ago. So I always tell my kids, I like it when people are nice.
So I'm going to go with 10 here. What's the weirdest thing you've seen in a city meeting?
This wasn't a.
It doesn't have to be Lansing.
Yeah, no. And this was, I guess, it was a delve too much into it, but it was in my previous community, and a fist fight almost broke out amongst 2 people, and I had to step in and break up almost a physical altercation. That will be that's a story over Coors Lights someday.
Okay.
But yeah, I almost had to break up a fight one time in a meeting in my previous community.
Well, this has been so much fun. We're going to go with the bonus question.
All right.
What's the most unusual request you've ever gotten from a resident?
This is another one in my previous community. I think it was like for a new sidewalk or something like that. But as this resident was talking to me, they said, well, Harold Swanson promised me a new sidewalk. And I'm like, well, who the heck is this guy? And I went back and looked, and this guy he was referring to was the city manager back in the 80s. And so this guy remembered this conversation supposedly from 30 years ago, and he was using that to justify his desire for a new sidewalk. And I think he saw a fresh-faced, brand new city administrator and said, I want to try to get that. So yeah, that was kind of an interesting request. So
did he get a new sidewalk?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the community as we kind of close out this segment?
Just to reemphasize, my family and I live in Lansing. We shop in Lansing, go to church in Lansing. Our kids go to school here. Just a great community. And, kind of like we talked about, who wouldn't want to live in a community like this? We're so close to Kansas City, but we still have those great schools. We're incredibly safe. We have wonderful public safety, just a wonderful community. And it's just a pleasure to be a part of Lansing's growth and community.
Tim, thanks for being here. And thanks for joining us for SorWil Solutions with Lansing City Administrator Tim Vandall. Join us next week for Fire Chief Gates. So thanks for joining.